price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check. The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
It's time for us to have this conversation. This conversation is probably going to have to be a series because I don't even know if I can express exactly how I feel in this one conversation. Let me, as I'm speaking, let me put my stuff, my YouTube, and then Jumbotron. How you doing, Salim, JL, Ace Keeper, Nuremberg? Let me put that in there. If you guys didn't know, I'm having a sale on my merchandise as well, too. I'm putting that in the Jumbotron. Free shipping the whole weekend. Okay. So if you guys are coming in late, you guys, this space is always recorded. Plus, it's going to be on YouTube. Now, we're having a conversation today about the crabs in a bucket mentality. We have that very bad in our community. And it's a time that we took the time to stop, examine the issue in full detail, and figure out solutions to get past it. And I was thinking about this pretty much all day today, thinking about the things I would say, thinking about why I feel we have such a bad crabs in a bucket mentality. So we have that because honestly, a lot of black people, and right now when I say black people, I'm specifically just really talking about FBA, but this applies to other black people too. But we have it because a lot of us face self-hate and insecurities that we don't really recognize. A lot of us face that on a conscious and even more powerful, a subconscious level, because people don't understand how powerful your subconscious is. A lot of times, your subconscious is actually more powerful than your conscious mind. And if your subconscious mind has convinced you of something, as your subconscious mind has taught you of something, then that's how you're going to act. Okay. The team reflects leadership. And in the human body, the brain is pretty much the team. So if the brain has convinced the human body of something, then the human body will reflect on what the brain believes. Now, um, if we can use an example to kind of sum this up, to kind of make this simple, we all remember being in a classroom, and this is just one example, you can use many others. We all remember being in a classroom and you not doing so well on a report card, on a test, on anything. You got a D, you got an F, or whatnot. You kind have a lot of people. I'm not gonna say you specifically, but a lot of people would feel better if they're not the only one who failed the test. If you got a D on your test, you failed the test, you kind of felt a little bit more secure with yourself if the person next to you also got a D, if the person next to you also got an F, because that reflects better on to you, because then you feel like, well, at least I'm not the dumb one, because you had an insecurity before you took the test that, oh my God, this test is so hard, I'm not going to pass this test. And then when you took the test and you didn't do that well, it it highlighted the insecurity that you're not that intelligent. And that's the insecurity and self-hate that you hate about yourself. So it makes you feel better that somebody else is on your level, because misery loves company. Nobody wants to be alone. Even unsuccessful, miserable people, they want to be around other unsuccessful, miserable people, because it makes them less miserable. It makes them feel like they're less stupid or less worthy or less incompetent. And that's a bad problem. That problem stems from a couple of things. And really, the thing is, that problem stems from self doubt, self hate, and insecurity. Because even if you do fail, which everybody does from time to time, that's a normal part of human life. But even when you do fail, if you're a person who has confidence in themselves, in your ability to get things done and your ability to succeed at the end of the day, you don't go around hating on other people. You don't go around wishing bad on other people. You don't go around doing that because you're confident in yourself that you will bounce back. See, all of this crabs in a bucket mentality, that stuff stems from the fact that these crabs feel like they'll never make it out of the bucket, and they would rather everybody be miserable in the bucket than them be miserable in the bucket by themselves, because they doubt themselves. They don't have the security to believe that they can actually make it out of the bucket like the other crabs can. See, when you're a person with confidence, when you're a person with high self-esteem, you don't mind other crabs making it out of the bucket because you believe that you can make it out of the bucket as well too. And in many cases, you actually encourage and try to help and uplift crabs, out of the bucket because you believe in that yourself. You believe that, yeah, I can make it out this bucket. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me that you might make it out of the bucket first. It's just not my turn yet because you still have that confidence in you. But when you lack that confidence in you, that bothers you, that hurts you. And unfortunately, people take that hurt, that insecurity, that lack of confidence, they take that out on other people. And unfortunately, we're going to have a real conversation. This happens specifically and damn near I say exclusively with black people because you don't really have the crabs in a bucket mentality with other races of people. The If you took a test or whatnot, a black person, I'm not saying you anybody specifically, but if a black person took a test, you're going to feel bad if all of the other black people did great in the test. If all of them got an A or a B and you're sitting up there, you're with the F, that's going to be a bad reflection on you. However, when that Asian person or that white person, if they got a good grade, you wouldn't feel so bad because subconsciously, and this is what I was saying earlier, your subconsciously, you have been taught and bred and learned through osmosis, which is pretty much you learning without somebody actually teaching you. You learn from picking it up subconsciously that your blackness makes you um, inherently inferior to another race of people. It's a really deep thing. There was a study done, I believe in 2017, a case study where they took 100 black students, and they were all about the same education. They all had the same test scores, black men and black women, young black men and black women. And they separated the class. Now, the students didn't know this. The class that they were about to take a test, the tests were completely identical. However, 50% of the students had to write their name, date, age, all of that, but they had to write their race first. As well. So what the study found out was the fact that the students who wrote their race actually did worse on the test, and these were all black students. The students who wrote their race did worse on the tests than the students who didn't write their race. So what the study concluded was um, the all of the students would have fared around the same had the students not been reminded of their blackness prior to taking the test. Because in this country, and this is why we have the system now, I'm gonna say WS because this is gonna go on YouTube and I don't want it to, get flagged or whatever the case is. But that has throughout centuries taught black people through osmosis, not even consciously, taught black people to have self-doubt and self and insecurity about themselves and about their blackness. that a lot of black people don't even realize. Because if you ask those 50 students if they felt like their blackness made them any less intelligent, they would have consciously told you no. But subconsciously, they didn't feel that way. Subconsciously, they felt like their blackness made them slightly less intelligent. So when they were reminded of that, it's ringing in their mind as they're taking a test. This is why I was going back to winners, people who do not hate on other people. These are confident people. These are people who believe that they're going to be able to make it. These are people who do not have self-doubt. I'm sure you guys have been taught, the ones who are in school or in school right now have been taught, when you're taking a standardized test, when you're taking a test, like especially with the 4 options, always go with your first answer. Why? Because your first answer is more likely to be correct than the answer that you have to think about over and over. It's that first answer that is more likely to be correct than the answer that you get when you overthink yourself. The thing why they tell you to go with your first answer is because that is the answer that you write when you're the most confident in that answer. Your second answer is going to second, third, and it goes down each answer you get when you're on the same question. But the second and third answer is going to be an answer of self-doubt. You're going to look at your first answer, you're going to erase that, and you're going to be all like, I'm not really sure if that's the right one. Then you start to doubt yourself, you start to overthink yourself instead of just going with the fact that, okay, you know what, my first answer was correct. I have confidence in myself that my first answer was most likely correct. That's why in a lot of the cases, when we were in school, we would see the first student to get up and pass the test. That was the student who, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, did the best, because that was the student that felt the most confident. See, there's a thing that you can actually train your subconscious into actually convincing your conscious to doing something to a degree. When you take a test, no matter how much you studied for it, right before you sit down with that piece of pen, with that piece of paper and that pencil, if you say to yourself, I am not ready for this test, there is no way I'm going to pass this test, even if you are ready, if your subconscious has convinced your conscious mind that you are not ready, then your conscious mind is going to reflect on what your subconscious taught yourself or what your subconscious tells yourself. That's why that jamming, that cramming the night before is not really that helpful, because you already feel as if you're not ready for it. The people who walk in and they say, don't be nervous, calm down, relax, don't overthink things, because your subconscious a lot of times messes you up. And that's a terrible thing. That's a sad thing. However, we have to get, we have that in every single race. Every single race of people has their people who doubt themselves. Every single race of people have people who are not confident within their own ability. Okay, I'm going to give a couple more examples, then I'm going to circle back to my main point. We know the situation with Sha'Carri Richardson, where she, remember that one huge big race that she lost. She lost one really big race to some Jamaican women, and she was clowned all over Twitter. People were making fun of her, and she said in her interview she didn't spite them. She didn't have any ill feelings towards the women who beat her. She was all like, you know what? It is what it is. They ran a good race. I got them next time. That didn't shake her confidence. That didn't, she didn't doubt herself because of that. She said, you know, it's cool. I got him next time. And now you're seeing videos. Now Sha'Carri has beaten them. These are the fastest sprinters in the world currently living, and Sha'Carri is beating them right now because she didn't let that one loss, and she lost last place. Now she's winning first place because she didn't let that one last place loss make her doubt herself, to where every time she's on the track, she's thinking that she can't beat these other women. That's why she's able to overcome. That's why she was able to beat them the next few times around. Now you have the situation. I'm not sure if you guys are like WFC fans or whatever the case is, but there was a WFC fighter, a female fighter named Ronda Rousey, which, side note, I never really liked. I never really liked Ronda Rousey, but I digress. Back to the point. She was undefeated for a while. Okay, she was bragging about how strong she was, how undefeated she was. Nobody could touch her. She fought this one lady, forgot her name. She fought this one lady. This lady pretty whooped her in the first round, made her lose her undefeated streak. After that, Ronda Rousey pretty much went crazy. She was talking about how she was going to end her career, maybe even her life, how she didn't know how she was going to go on anymore. She started doubting herself, and then it was after that, loss after loss after loss after loss. She just went on this whole streak of constantly losing, which, to side note, I was not displeased with. It was kind of happy for me to see Ronda lose. I didn't really like Ronda. I was glad to see somebody beat her up, but I digress. That is what happens when you step in the ring and you hear that bell and you're already thinking, I can't do this. I'm going to lose. I'm going to be defeated. You're going to lose. Now, when she thought she was the winner, she was winning. Now that she doesn't feel like she's the winner anymore, now that she feels like her confidence is crippled and she can't bounce back, she has never became a champ, got her championship belt after that again. She pretty much left UFC. She went to WWE, then back and forth and all of that. Did some movies or whatnot, but her career pretty much was at its peak right before that match. And it dropped it never really to come back again because of how she thought about herself. Okay, so this is the greatness in when you look at both those cases, that is the benefit of having the belief that you can do it. Okay, my dad once taught me that you should want for your brother what you want for yourself. Okay, you shouldn't be hating on the next person. A confident person, a person with confidence, and a person who is persistent does not need to hate on somebody else. You don't need to, if you're a music artist, you don't need to hate on another music artist's album because that album did better than yours. You give them their props. You say, you know what, good job. I got it next time. I'm still I'm still that dude. I'm still that guy. Or for the ladies, I'm still that girl. I still got it. I still get it. You know, even as a championship boxer, you might lose a round every so often, but you're going to win the championship at the end of the day. Everybody loses a round. Muhammad Ali, he loses rounds. Mike Tyson's lost rounds in a whole match. Floyd Mayweather has lost rounds in a whole match. They don't hear, oh, when you lose a round, then next thing you know, you don't feel like you can win the fight anymore. That is the difference between a confident person and an unconfident person. Now, however, what we need to address that we have a lot of black people in the community that have such low self-esteem that not only can they not believe that they can actually make it out of the bucket, they would rather all of the crabs be stuck in a miserable position because they feel like they can't make it. They would rather sabotage somebody else, even if it means sabotaging themselves. They would rather because they've already, to them, they've already lost. Their life is over. They can't do anything. They're losers to themselves in their mind. So they would rather everybody be a loser. They would rather go down with the ship. They would rather poke holes in the ship and everybody go down rather than to see anybody else succeed um ahead of them. Okay? Now, for instance, we can look at some examples. First off, I want to give a shout out to our brother Tariq Nasheed. He got his museum. You know, big salute to him. That was a very big, powerful move he got. His Black History Museum. Remember, it was like a year ago when you had thousands of people talking about he ain't never gonna get it. He ain't never gonna get that museum. Where's that museum? He ain't never gonna get it. These are people who would be happy to see him fail. These are people, it's not like they said, oh, you know what, that's just unrealistic. These are people who didn't want him to get it because they don't think that they're on his level. And the fact that they don't think that they're on his level, they would rather bring him down a peg. They're like, you're doing too much. I would rather you fail than me succeed. That is like the sabotaging self-hate mentality that a lot of these people have. Now, of course, we know a lot of these people that, yeah, you have your tethers, but I'm specifically talking about the things that we need to address within our society. These are problems that we need to address within our society. I was thinking about people in my life. I was having a very like moment. I was deep moment to myself, and I was thinking about all of the people in my life that I noticed always had something negative to say on an accomplishment that I made. Even if they didn't come off that way, even if it was like, oh, you know, they pretended to be happy. If you guys want to come up, you guys can request to speak as well too, because I'm gonna land in a second. But even if they pretended to be happy, I can tell that they weren't happy. These are people who are always giving me backhanded compliments. These are people who are always saying, okay, well, I mean, I don't see why you doing this. You should be doing this, but okay, I mean, you do you. These are people who made me doubt myself and doubt my success because these people weren't moving the way I was moving. These people were not trying to be successful the way I was trying to be successful. And I didn't see that at the time. At the time, I'm sitting up there really doubting myself because I'm really taking what these people say to heart. I'm really taking what these people say serious. But then I had to realize that a lot of times these people just don't want you to succeed because they just want you to stay on their level. Unfortunately, how often do we grow up, do we get successful jobs, successful businesses, successful careers, and then we go back to our old neighborhood, or some of our family members, we go to a family reunion and we see that one cousin who's still working um at fast food restaurants in his, and I'm not trying to diss anybody or shame anybody, but you have no ambition farther than that. You don't think that you'll ever be anything better than that, so you don't try to accomplish anything more than that. And they always have something to say about you. They're always trying to have something slick to say about you. These are the people who, when you start your business, when you start selling your clothes, when you start, I don't know, doing hair, when you start opening your restaurant, they're going to tell you, hey, I don't know about all that. I don't think you're going to be able to make it. I mean, well, what about this? These are the naysayers. These are the pessimists. These are the people, when you say, hey, I got this really great idea, they don't ever tell, first off, and side note, there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. We are probably going to have a conversation about constructive criticism versus somebody being a pessimist, okay? Because they're not the same thing. But these are people who disguise being a pessimist as somebody who's just giving constructive criticism. These are people, when you say you have this idea, when you say you want to launch this business, or you want to start this music or start this movie or whatever the case is, these are the people around you who always have negative things to say. They don't have anything positive to say, but every single idea you bring them, they'll find a reason to say, no, that's not going to work. I don't know how you're gonna be able to pull that out. Ain't nobody gonna really buy that. You know, nobody gonna really go like, I mean, come on, you know you can't really sing that well. I mean, like let's just I'm just trying to help, man. I'm just trying to be realistic with you, you know what I'm saying? If somebody gotta tell you, you know, these are people who would rather tell you you can't do it than try to help you figure out how you can do it. And this is the issue that a lot of us have in our society, is that we have these people in our circles that harm us. We have these people in our circles that keep the actual people who can get out of the bucket and pull people out of the bucket. We have those people who want to pull us back. And too often, some of us don't even realize that. Too often, some of these people are in our inner circles. Now, the brother just pulled up. I didn't kick you off. If you like to speak, you can request back. I know I was being a little bit long winded, so yeah, let me pause right quick. If anybody would like to come up and say anything, because I think we really do need to have a serious conversation about this. This is something that I would definitely like to listen to a lot of different people's opinions on. So if anybody would like to come up and say their 2 cents on ending the crabs in a bucket mentality, I would definitely encourage you guys to do so. Because this is very bad. This is very serious. And unfortunately, sometimes it actually does take the lives of certain people. For instance, I know Tarika's been talking about the situation with P and B Rock, him getting, you know, shot in the waffle spot. Okay, and these people, they do it and they shoot people who pretty much made it out the hood. Uh, Oftentimes, it's a lot more dangerous for people who have made it out of the hood to come back to the hood than it is for people who've never left the hood in the first place. A lot of times people ask, and this is something, a conversation we have in Chicago often, why doesn't well, if you guys didn't know, in Chicago we have this rapper called Chief Keef. He's from Chicago. He blew up in Chicago. And then when he got on, he left Chicago. He left the hood and didn't want to come back. And people ask, well, why doesn't he want to come back? Why doesn't he want to give back to the hood? And he said in the interview, the second I come back to the hood, I'm going to get shot down by the people who are jealous that they never made it out. And a lot of people feel like that. A lot of people feel like, hey, when you reach back to pull somebody else out the bucket, they grab your hand and they yank you down. So a lot of people are scared to even try to help somebody else because of that. Not that you should be. Not that you should be, because as a people, we should always be encouraging to pull other people up. But you know, you even have that situation in the hood where, hey, if you make it, you can't even come back. That's a bad situation right there. And I'm not saying all, but I'm just, we have to analyze the problem 100%. But we have a hand up right now. Um, Sister Shanty, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. How you doing, Afro? We spoke before, so happy Thursday to you. What's up, Miss Lioness and everybody else in the room? Only thing I could say, I don't know if it makes sense. I can only describe what I've been through in life. You mentioned something like when you back in school and you probably got a D or F and you'd be satisfied with somebody else getting the same result as you. I was never that type of person. If I knew that I was about to fail or whatever, or I would cling on to what I knew the best. So if this test is about to come up, boom, okay, I got this down pat. So I'm gonna study this because that's already natural to me. But the things that I'm falling off, I always hung around people that were good and like I'm great in math and I can read, but don't ask me to write nothing for you because I'm not a good writer at all. I'm not a storyteller. I probably could say it in words, but writing it down is totally different. So what I used to do back in the day is, okay, I get a friend named Brittany, and I get a couple of other friends, Consuelo, whoever. Do y'all know what y'all doing with this and this and this and that? Yeah. So I always been a working child. And okay, so I need help with this. And if you could help me out with this, I go buy you an outfit or I'll take you out shopping or, just to show my appreciation for helping me get through this. I used to cheat on certain things. Okay? If I didn't know it and I had a close friend that knew how to do it, I don't mind sharing a little bit of what I got. If you be looking like, I don't have this, my mother can't help me, then fuck it. I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna get it and we gonna get this shit together. It was like a team effort. Okay. Now next you said something else about what the hell did you just say? I can't even think. I just got off work. Um you said something else that hit. on a keynote. Afro, what did you just say?
Um, besides the insecurity part, I think the last thing I said was that people will actually rather you fail than for them to succeed, and they will bring you back down if they have the opportunity to.
Yeah, you can't be around
Is that
people. I
something
don't.
you want to
No,
touch
that
on?
wasn't it. But I would still say never be around anybody like that because even if somebody think that they are above you or in a different class, it's okay. Like, but you know who you are. You got to stand down on who you are. People are like you being more just being yourself. And if you hang around a whole bunch of hood people all the time, that's how your mentality is going to be. So then you're not going to be able to have like a regular conversation or, you know, like, yeah. So sometimes you got to get yourself out the box and explore a little bit more. You said something else. I can't think about it. I'll raise my hand later, okay?
I got you. Okay. Okay, cool. And thank you for that. I appreciate that. Um I don't want to butcher you.
Jar, man, it's all good.
No, okay. Cool,
It's
cool.
all it's all good, bro.
Y'all know I'm not that great with pronouncing names.
Nah, I'm the same way, man. I said he must be talking to me when he did that. So, yeah, man, I definitely like the title, and I like what you're addressing. Um, and I was about to ask you what inspired you to, start this space, and then you mentioned the P&B situation. Um, and when I think about that situation, I think about how because I spoke about it myself a little bit, and kind of focused on the initial first thoughts about it. Speaking about his, tweeting out or posting about his location, and I think it was on Instagram or whatever. The girlfriend posted about his location and stuff like that, and maybe what people could have done and things like that. But we forget to focus on, and even myself, just thinking about it after a second, I said, wait a minute, wait a minute, let's take a look at take a step back from what they could have and shouldn't have done and could have done and all that, and take a look at the people that actually did the crime, that robbed them and killed them. What kind of sucker shit is that? Like, excuse my language in here. I know you got a record and everything like that, man, but you murdered somebody for a little come up. You took his life for what? Like, go find a hustle, go get something to do, man. Like, you really robbed somebody for, like, let's focus on that for a second. This backwards mentality. Same thing with, like, Nipsey. I don't want to say Nipsey Hussle so much, but Nipsey Hussle was so into his community, and people might say he said the wrong thing and he shouldn't have said something to him, whatever. But a lot of that was hate. A lot of that was jealousy. That guy wanted to be associated, wanted to have Nipsey Hussle's acknowledgement. When as soon as he didn't get it, he was mad. He was upset. Wanted to take his life. Wanted to kill him. You know, people gonna make that out to be as many things as they want it to be. But the list goes on. You got Chinks drugs and or Chinks in New York City. Giving somebody a ride. You know what I mean? But he had I guess he had a beef going a ways back. But as people see you start to take off in life and start to see things working for you, that vitriol, that anger gets even more, and then they some people get jealous and envious of that. So let's deal with that. That definitely is something that people need to look at and examine. Uh, I see it in the spaces too, man. If somebody has more information than another person, there's like envy. There's, oh, let me say something better, or let me take down what they're saying. Let me be a contrarian. Let me contradict what they're saying, no matter what. Somebody could come in the space and say 1 + 1 is 2, and they'll be like, well, actually, if you put the ones together, it's 11. Like, really? Like, you really needed to add that? Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about ones next to each other. We're talking about 1 + 1 = 2. And, you know, people have sometimes, dealing with, intellectual insecurities, or they dealing with, maybe forms of internalized self-hatred. And that's something that needs to get addressed. I think we need to put that on the forefront. I appreciate you talking about this and bringing this up in the space.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
But
Oh, were you done? Okay. And to piggyback off of that, I see that in spaces a lot too. A lot of people's insecurity actually comes out in spaces and they don't even recognize that. There's a lot of times I'm in spaces and I have a lot to say, but I'm not trying to be the main talker because it's not my space, or I'm not a co-host. I'm not trying to grandstand in somebody else's space. But there are times I see people, they're always trying to like one up somebody else in a space. You talk about, hey, I've done this and this for the community. Then they want to get up, well, I've done this and this, and you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's not like it ain't even like that. It gets so extreme that these people are just starting to make stuff up that they never done before. You talk about, well, I'll be in here and I'll be defending black children, and then somebody else come up, well, I just be shooting police. I'll be shooting the police.
Right.
I mean, like, dude, that's not even necessary for you to do. Like all of that grandstanding you're doing is out of insecurity. If you're a secure person, you won't even have to do all that. All that I'm the biggest and baddest in this. No, this is not that deep. Now you sit up there making stuff up about yourself instead of actually being about it.
Man, that's so real. That's so real, man. I'm over here dying.
Yeah. Sage, you can go ahead, bro.
Shout out to you, brother Afro. You got me good?
Yep. Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First of all, I want to say this. D Tubman, I see you down there. Get well soon, sister. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing. As far as to the topic of the room, I do believe that the most closest people to you are the most dangerous sometimes, because we open our doors for these people. And I have family members, to be honest with you guys, that I no longer really associate with, because again, once you see some type of success, whether you're getting more money, you purchase a new car, which I have, you purchase a house, you start to see the little things creeping out. And when you see something like that, you see seeds of hate creeping out, you need to follow your gut. You need to separate yourselves from these people, because, again, as human beings, we need to upgrade ourselves. I'm not trying to plagiarize, Brother Black at all, but when he talks about upgrading yourself, you genuinely have to do that. So when you're upgrading yourself, some people are going to get left behind. And when you leave people behind, these people create envy and hate, because again, you come from the sticks. Y'all come from the same playground. So you making it and him not really is a bad reflection onto him, because he had the same opportunities as you. So again, when you get any type of success, you need to now watch your close inner circle, because if you cannot trust them, first of all, if you cannot trust them, they're going to stab you in the back and you're not going to see it coming. So again, we need to learn. We need to learn from every experience that we go through. We need to learn, and we need to keep pushing forward. And with that, I'm going to land.
And to piggyback off of what you said real quick, they hate and prey on your downfall because you are the killer of their excuse as to why they're not successful. If both of you two started from the starting line and you took off and they didn't, they can't make the excuse that the game was rigged. They can't, the same excuses that they could make if you guys were both unsuccessful, they can't make if you're successful. So that doubles down on the fact that they feel bad about themselves. So that's why they want to take you down. You're the excuse killer. You just ruined their excuse. And that's so sad. That's so unfortunate. JL, you can go ahead.
Real quick, I'm so sorry, Sister JL. Give me 2 seconds, sister. I'm so sorry. What you said earlier was very true. You said people like to. I'm sorry, Afro. I don't want to butcher what you said. You said something about people saying, "Oh, I've done this on the street, and you've done this on the street." Well, Lioness Crown is in this room. Um, I got into an argument the other night with a person that was saying that he does X, Y, and Z on the street, whatever the case is, and you really have no skin in the game. The city that you're from, people can't really vouch for you. So it's not about who does more, who does what. It's just how many battles have you won? And that's what I should have asked, but I didn't ask it at the time. But I would love to know, how many battles have these people won, more so than just a Twitter space. And with that, I throw it to you, Sister JL. My apologies again.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for inviting me, Afro. I could go on and on about this subject, to be honest. I just want to touch on number one, the mute button in spaces. I do think that a lot of people find comfort in that. I feel like a lot of people find comfort in you not being able to respond, because if you respond, then that means they would have to face the truth. You get what I'm saying? So it's easier to now mute someone. When we talk about crabs in the barrel, believe it or not, people will be more offended because you speak life into them and you give them all the solutions as to why they can do something. If their mind is centered around, well, I can't do this, I'm in this position, I can't do that. Now, y'all know I'm for reparations. So by default, I'm not a bootstrapper per se, but I teach what I know. And I feel like, who would I be to sit there and look at you and say, you can't do it, if I know that I've overcome certain things and put myself in a certain position? I'm not going to do it. Now, just because of that, you may go and you may, you know, be closer with the person that says, hey, you can't do this, and, you know, actually, you know, feed you your negativity or feed you that hopelessness. And you might take that as something completely different, but that is your perception. Another thing, when you talk about family, you know, half of my family is from the hood. You know, I've given them opportunities. Broke to me is a mentality. If you don't want to surpass your surroundings or what you're doing, you're going to stop everyone. It doesn't matter how much you try to lift someone up. But I do know one thing: if you want to overcome your circumstances, you can do that. And I'm going to speak life into you, because I believe in myself, and I'm not going to look down on the next person and say to you, you can't do it. Some people will be offended at that, believe it or not. They will be offended. That's another way that the crabs in the bucket mentality works. Now, I've listened to some of these spaces, right? And I've heard people talk about me. I'm an elitist, really doing better than I'm really doing. But let me tell you one thing. On the outside, some of these little petty differences, the things that you see, right? You'll be like, oh, why did this happen? Why did that happen? I started getting the most pushback when I actually start speaking on the good things happening in my life. Isn't that crazy? When I started actually sharing some of the things that I started to overcome, that's when I got the most pushback from people that I wanted to see win. You get it? That's crabs in a barrel mentality, because while I am feeling like I know what I can do, I'm motivating everyone around me on that same frequency. While there's some people that don't even believe that they can do it, and they're giving you every excuse. Oh, well, she did this, she did that, and it's not even true. Half my family from the hood. I don't even was not even raised like some people think that I was. You get it? But that's the perception that people are going to have when you overcome your circumstances, and it's mind over matter. I feel like we have to get back to a people that understands that at the end of the day, if you can conceptualize it, then you can make it happen. We have all these things in the matrix that can stop you, whether white supremacy, debt, brokenness. You really can make up excuses all day, but guess what? You can surpass them, because the mind supersedes all that. And that's where people don't understand me, because I say, what your consciousness, what you are creating, that supersedes everything, because you do have that power. Um, so yeah, when it comes to crabs in the bucket mentality, I just want to say, you can't take people trying to bring you down so personal, because a lot of the time you are just the perception of where they want to be. They may not have the guts to tell you, or they may not have the strength to say, you know, Black woman, I see that you're here. How did you get here? How do you think of this? Or, you know, like, Black man, what are you doing to get here? Instead of doing that, they'll try to drag you down, but they don't realize we can rise together. So again, I don't want to ramble on this, but I feel like crabs in the barrel mentality within our community, it's sad how we don't want to see each other succeed. The moment that we see somebody and we think, oh, they have this, or they get this money, they get this new job, it's like we want to tear them down, humble them. Oh, well, you're still not this, you're still not that, you still haven't done this. So that's very unfortunate. I don't really have a, you know, solution for this. I just know that if we want to, you know, become competitive, I do feel like we have to move as a whole more. When it comes to people bringing themselves down, like some of the arguments that we've just had publicly, it's like, it's not making anyone look good, to be honest. Not that I care about what people think, But I do think we have to move more in unison. I think that we have to move more with intent, positivity, and not envy and jealousy. I'll land there.
Okay, let me speak on that real quick. There's a thing like you said, that people oftentimes when you get to a certain level and you try to help somebody out, you try to give that person advice, and uh this might be business, this might be relationship advice, this might be on anything. They get mad at you for trying to give them helpful advice. You're not talking to them condescending. You're not trying to say, well, I don't go through these problems because I'm just so great. You're actually genuinely trying to help them, and they get upset with you for trying to help them because they're kind of okay where they are. They've accepted it. Even if they don't consciously admit it, subconsciously they've accepted their place in life, and but they hate it. They hate the fact that they've accepted that. And every time that you give them the advice, then that's eating at them like, no, okay, I've already told myself I'm at this level. And every time you give me advice, it emphasizes that I can get out. I just have to work hard. I can get out of this situation. um I can lose weight. Okay, let me, before we get to Shanty, I'm gonna just give a small little brief story. um I've never been like a super out of shape dude. I've always like played sports even when I was a kid, wherever, so I was always in relatively good shape. But when I would give people advice, now there's certain things that I do to make sure I stay in good shape. But there, when I give somebody advice, other people who might not be in as good of a shape, then it's all like, oh well, you just got good genetics. Um, well, I mean, I can't afford to be eating all these healthy whole grain food. Like it's always something negative. I'm like, dude, I see you going to the gym. I swipe up on your story and I say, hey, um, let me go to the gym with you. Nah, I'm good. Okay, all right, okay. Or something like that. Or, hey, you said you were interested in coming to the gym. I got a pass. We can go to the gym one day. And nah, I'm good. I like to do it by myself. Like, no, oh, all right, okay. I'm trying to reach out and help you, and then you got negative things to say about me. People talk, oh, you just, you bragging about your genes, you bragging about, no, this goes with that money, relationship advice, business advice, all of these things. You try to help somebody else and they don't even want to hear your advice. And these are the people who say they wish they had a solution, but when you give it to them, they get mad.
Can I say one line to that right quick? Really quick, just one line. I was going to say,
Yeah, one line, yeah, because I don't want Sister Shanti to forget her point.
copy. I was going to say sometimes people when when you show up, you might bring out in them the feeling of inadequacy. So that sometimes what's happening there. I've noticed that, but I'll stop there.
Yep, exactly. Shanti, you can go ahead.
Okay, I just don't want to forget. But if I do forget, forget it. Dean, how you doing? And I wish you well, Helens. And yeah, I love you. And I don't even know you, so get good, girl. What I actually wanted to say because I forgot earlier. I had a hell of a day today. Like even this morning when I woke up feeling good. Like, okay, let me go get my day started. Boom. And then I walked into this is a real story. This happened today. And it wasn't even 1:30 yet. I had to check the time. Like, yo, what the hell time is it? I went through Kachaska over and over and over again. I went up in there to go make sure my daughter was secure with her baby shower, the facility and everything. Make sure we got the insurance just in case, whatever. And then next thing you know, my daughter calling me and she like, Ma, my car got towed and the insurance, such and such. It was just like a whole bunch. I had to calm her little behind down. Like, look, tell them to give you like an extension, like at least about 6 days. We all get paid tomorrow, and then you're gonna do this. Then we go get the car tomorrow. Next thing you know, my daughter father, he's in a situation that he put himself into, and then he got like a whole bunch of wolves. He got like four females that he used to deal with. He's in a fucked up situation. Hopefully he'll get better. Um, but the women that's around him, they act like they loved the hell out this man, and they was trying to push my daughter away all this time. So now all of a sudden, my daughter was like, you know something, I'm pregnant, and my father is my father. I love him. He ain't been around in the beginning of my life. I really don't remember him like that, but you know, he came through the last past 6, 7 years of my life. So I'm gonna respect him, do what I gotta do. It was just over and over constant drama. When I tell you it wasn't even 1 o'clock this afternoon, 1:30, I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on? And then now me sitting up here listening to you, Afro. Yeah, I guess that shit was all on the air all day long. And that's how I look at it right now. Like, what the fuck was going on today? Yeah, it happened. So sure, we got look, we come to peace today. So I'm happy to be in this space, and I thank y'all.
Well, thank you. And let me touch up on something that you said a little bit earlier about you in your classroom and how you used to pretty much like team up with some of the other classmates in the classroom. When you link up with people, because let's be honest, as much as we might feel, and I was earlier talking about confidence, as much as you might feel confident within yourself, as much as you might feel like, hey, I'm the best, I'm on top of the world. I I literally promise you, and I really don't make promises because it's hard to keep promises, but I swear to you, I swear this to you, you will not feel like you're on top of the world every day. I promise there will be
I don't
one
know.
day or
No,
one week exactly.
Afro, I'm
It-
42 years old. You know I got good days and I got bad days. Every day ain't gonna be great. It's just how we gotta make through the day.
exactly. So I'm saying exactly. There will be days where you feel like, man, I can't catch a break. There will be days where you feel like, hey, life is just kicking my ass today. There will be days where you feel like that. But bouncing back, that's the important part. You gonna lose one day, or you will feel like you lost one day. You're gonna feel like you got beat up. You're gonna wake up and you're gonna feel tired and want to go back to bed. You're gonna feel hungry all day. You're gonna feel upset, got a headache, got a stomach ache. Everything that could go wrong will go wrong one of these days. And I'm not wishing that on anybody. I'm just talking about a fact of life. Okay, but bouncing back, that is the important thing and everything. Um, Everybody is not perfect in every way. There are some things that we do that we specialize in, and then there are some things that we can't really do that well. And that's the importance of having a team with different attributes that can complement each other's downfalls or each other's defects. You know, instead of struggling and there's a gap somewhere and there's you have an open spot somewhere, you have somebody else who specializes in something else. I'm gonna give an example. When I was in school, I used to be a very nervous person about looking stupid. I used to hate to look stupid, so much so that I was literally taking notes damn near word for word of every single thing the teachers said, because I would pretty much have to review the entire class, because if he said something, I was too afraid to raise my hand and ask a question. I was too afraid to raise my hand and say I didn't know something, because I thought in my mind, this was years ago, but I thought in my mind, like, man, I don't want to be asking the obvious questions, and I don't want people to sit around and be all like, oh man, he always asking stupid questions. Oh, he always asking questions. This man don't know anything. I didn't want the teacher to think that about me, and then I didn't want the rest of the class to think that about me. So I'm sitting there in the back of the class, burning my fingers, writing notes, trying to take account of everything the teacher said, which turned out kind of good because I was a very good note taker, but unfortunately I missed out a lot because there were certain things, questions that I wanted to ask him. And sometimes I would ask this my friends after the class, like, hey, when he said this, what did he mean by that? And they were like, I don't know, you should have asked. I constantly got that, like, hey, you should have asked. That's a good question. You should have asked. I don't even know that. You should have asked. And then that kind of made me think like, yeah, I should start asking these questions. You know, I even before that, I had cut a deal. I'm all like, you know what? Um, I will take the notes. There was a guy, um, one of my close friends. I talked to him after class. I'm like, look, I'm a better note taker than you, and your handwriting is super sloppy. Mine isn't the best either, but mine is way better than you. I I'll take the. I didn't say that to him, but that's what I thought. I'll take the notes and I'll ask you. You sit next to me, and then I'll ask you the question, and then you can ask the question. Because at that time, I'm still too scared to ask him that question. So I'm all like, ew, ask him what, go back to the previous scan or go back to the previous question or review that again. He raised his hand and he asked the question that I wanted to ask as I'm taking the notes of the question. And not to say that was me being flawed, but the principle of me stating that story is me saying that you can team up with somebody and that team can cover each other. The notes that he wasn't able to take, I was able to take, and the questions that I wasn't able to ask, he was able to ask. And as a team, we were able to pull ourselves up. See, the thing is that we all have things that we're not the greatest at, we're not the best at, but you just getting on code with the next person, you just partnering up and having the back of the next person, that y'all can both come up that way. There's a lot of cases where you guys can actually both be successful if you team up with somebody or you find a group of people and you say, okay, after class, let's study all of this stuff and we can all come up that way. Too many people sabotage their own success because they don't want to be a part of a team because of their insecurities, because of their lack of communication and their poor character. There's a lot of things that you can do. You might just be sitting next to the perfect teammate next to you, but you have it to where, you know what, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm not going to be a good teammate to the next person. That's why I keep saying this is about and being on code. This is about us being a team that helps each other and complements each other where another person might be weak. Another person might not be able to ask, and I keep going back to the class because I can't think of another thing right now. Or another person, for instance, somebody might do music. We know our brother Sage does music, and then let's say he meets somebody named Michael or whatever, and Michael is looking for a song, and he's great at advertising or whatever, and that might be something that Sage might need. Like, oh, he can put me on the radio, and y'all work together. He gets to use a sample of your song, and then you get his advertisement, and y'all both come up off of that. I'm gonna say what the thing is with our brother PNB Rock. If you guys had a celebrity come, a rapper or whatever the case, celebrity come to your neighborhood, instead of going there and shooting him and taking his jewelry, which if you guys know about actual jewelry and hot jewelry, is really nothing he can do with the jewelry. Even if you sold the jewelry, is not worth what you did to go get it, to be honest. You really took a loss when you went and did that. Instead of doing that, you could have easily gone and you could have been like, hey, PNB, bro, I'm a big fan or whatever, but I want you to check this out. I do like weight loss training and I got this small little business going on here. Why don't you take my card? Why don't you follow me on Instagram real quick? Let me get a picture with you. Or whatever the case is, and then he might help you come up. But see, people who are not confident, people who do not have foresight, don't think that way. They would rather sabotage their ticket to success than actually think about it and then actually use that as a ticket. When you see a famous, and I'm not saying go kissing ass to famous people, I'm not saying that at all in any way. But when you see somebody, you can be all like, hey, you know what? I feel like if we teamed up, this might be a good experience for the both of us. You know what I'm saying? Instead of you thinking that way, you thinking in a strategic way, you're just going to do some stupid stuff. You're just gonna go there and you're just gonna shoot that person and then take his jewelry instead of going there. There was, and I'm saying this because I'm gonna follow back with an example. Instead of going there and talking to him and maybe finding a way to come up. There was one thing I did on YouTube where there was two little black kids. They were selling candy. And the rapper, the baby pulled up and he asked how much was a whole box of candy. And then they said something crazy like $200. And then he did the math. He was like, no, y'all trying to finesse me. The box isn't $200. And he only bought like one piece of candy. And I'm all like, that could have been a golden ticket. They could have been like, hey man, no, we bought this for $40. I'll give it to you for 30. Just give us like a shout out on Instagram. And then next time, when we come back, we're gonna have all of this business because we got advertisement from the baby. That's how you think when you're not always trying to get over on somebody. When you're always trying to get over on somebody, you wind up sabotaging yourself. JL, you can go ahead.
Okay, not to change the subject, but I did just want to clarify the PNB Rock situation. I personally don't feel like that was a crabs in the bucket moment. I feel like the record labels are to blame. When you understand that they actually have life insurance policies on these rappers, and the contracts that they sign usually have something to do with the day that they die, I think a lot more will make sense. I also feel like when it comes to okay, so I was following this entertainment lawyer basically, and she was talking about the two times that artists are the most profitable, and it's first when they debut and second when they die. So if we know that, why is it that we're not looking into these record labels or doing any type of like investigation, knowing that they are benefiting off of these artists dying? So I didn't want to start a whole new, conversation, but I did just want to put out there, I personally don't, I feel like they try to make us think that certain things, are done for a reason, by us, like hate, but I don't think that this situation was. I just wanted to clarify.
Well, I'm gonna say there's probably more to the PNB situation that I'm still looking into, but I'm setting off of what I know. I don't as of right now, and we don't even have to use the PNB situation. We can use other situations, like the situation with the kids and the baby or whatnot. When we're talking, and there's truth to a lot of these. If you guys have seen the thing where I guess the rappers are wearing like the star ring, and they all wind up being executed. There's there is some room to suspect foul play in that. But when we're talking about people getting over on people or people having this grimy mentality, that's something that we need to look out for. How you start is how you finish. Okay, if you're starting something and you have this shiesty, every time I get a chance, I'm going to take advantage of somebody mentality. Every time I get a chance, I'm going to finesse somebody else mentality. That's going to wind up coming back on you. Okay, because you're starting problems, you're finessing people. People don't understand that stuff, the pendulum will swing back. People are never ready for the pendulum to swing back on them. When you starting off grimy, when you're taking advantage of somebody, when you see an opportunity, but you are so blinded with your insecurity and low self-esteem that your first instinct is to sabotage the next man than to build with that next man or that next woman or whatever the case is, or the next team or whatever the situation is. You're so insecure, you're not ready to build with them. You'd rather sabotage them, and you're messing up your own opportunities, their own situation. There's a lot of people who when they see a celebrity, the first thing they think to do, and I see this on videos all the time, the first thing they think to do is troll. Now they sit up there making jokes and crazy allegations. Hey, didn't your wife cheat on you? I'm like, dude, if you had a chance to meet somebody who could like possibly give you, and I'm not I'm definitely not saying kiss ass for any celebrity. I'm just saying people miss out on opportunities that are just sitting in their face. You have a chance. Um, you meet uh some billionaire, some millionaire, and you got a chance to really give an elevator speech and get put on, or whatever the case is. And what you do is you make a joke. You're missing your opportunity. And that's not necessarily crabs in the bucket mentality. That's just a lot of goofiness. But when we're talking about the crabs in the bucket mentality, these people sabotage themselves. These people don't have any hindsight within themselves. And I believe, and I've been thinking about this a lot today, one of the things that we're going to have to start doing is we're going to have to start reaching out, especially to the younger generation. Okay. Unfortunately, there are some people who are young. There's some people who are old. As Jason says, you got to watch out for these old niggas. But they can't be reached. They can't be fixed. They can't be helped. That is just unfortunate. What we can do is the insecurity that WS breeds into the young black children out here through osmosis. We can counter that. We can teach that. We can put out counter propaganda so they don't grow up with these subliminal um insecurities. Like for instance, me being afraid to ask questions, uh that hurt me way more than it helped me. Now it did help me become a very efficient note taker. However, it hurt me much more because even looking back at the notes, I would still have questions and I couldn't get answers to it because the teacher is the one who had the answers. And it's not like he or she was the one taking the notes, it was me. I was just writing down what they said. So that hurt. I wish I had somebody who was able to say, hey, ask the question anyway. Even if you might feel like you're asking an obvious question, it doesn't matter what everybody else in the class thinks. It doesn't even matter what the teacher thinks. The teacher is there for a job. So if you have a question as a student, that's the teacher's job to answer your question. So don't be afraid to ask the teacher a question. I had some very hostile teachers too, by the way. Anyway, that I digress. But don't be afraid to ask the question because somebody else might feel that you asked the obvious question. Somebody else might have known the answer. Because for the other person, and this is something that I've had to learn myself, the other person who might have had the answer might have known. There's probably about 5 or 6 other people in the classroom who are thankful that you asked the question because they didn't want to ask the question themselves. I can't tell you how many times that um I was happy when somebody else asked a question because that's the question I'm thinking in my mind too. I'm just afraid to ask. I wish I had somebody to tell me to think that way when I was younger. That would have made my life in school a lot easier for myself. But unfortunately, too many black children and youth too have to learn things the hard way because they don't have the that wisdom of the older generation to the degree that they should have. That older generation, there's like a gap skipped from the older generation that hasn't taught the younger generation, that hasn't taught the younger generation about confidence, about sitting up there and being like, you know what, no matter how bad you have it, you can come back if you say that to yourself. If you put that out there, as our brother Neely Fuller teaches us, thought, speech, and action, you have to think it first, you have to say it, you have to act on it. Okay, I've and I'm not trying to brag, but I've come back from car wrecks, the bank account in negative, all of these bad things, credit all messed up all over the place, family situations going left and right. And I'm not saying I've had it worse than anybody else, but none of those times did I think to myself, this is it, I'm done. Every time I'm in a job, and the job is giving me a hard time, I think to myself, it's cool because this is temporary. This pain is temporary. This annoyance of this supervisor Karen over here, that's temporary, because this isn't my stop. This isn't my peak. This is that the little manager at Target, the little manager at McDonald's, whatever, that used to annoy me and get on my nerves. That's her peak. That's where she's going to stop. Okay, the train has left the station for her. It hasn't for me. And I thought that to myself. So anytime she would say something to get on my nerves, I'm like, okay, all right. But in 10 years, I'm not going to be here, and you're still going to be here. I would say that to myself. And I'm not praying on her downfall, but I'm saying to myself, I have the confidence within myself to where things don't phase me. I don't take certain things personal. I have the confidence to be all like, you know what, there's nothing anybody can say, because I have proven to myself that my work ethic pays off. I have proven to myself that my consistency pays off. I have proven to myself that all of these great things pay off. I've proven that to myself, and I have self-confidence. This is why I don't hate on other people. This is why I don't hate on somebody else who is more successful than me. In fact, I encourage it. I encourage it. I like the competition. You know, this is how you know that that WS, I'm just gonna say white supremacists. This is how you know these are very insecure people. These are very insecure people, because when you're not insecure, you don't have to sabotage other people. Every single era we've lived in, ever since we've interacted with them, it's always been met with huge amounts of insecurity, huge amounts of sabotage, dating back 100 years ago, all, and ever since then till now. Okay, these people are insecure. I want y'all to think about the Little Mermaid situation. You see how they're flipping out about Ariel from the Little Mermaid being a black girl. Not that it really matters, because there's, Ariel is actually not a real person. Shocker, I know, right? But Ariel, the Little Mermaid, that's not an actual real story. That's something somebody made up. There's no singing mermaid with a crab fish or what. I don't even know exactly the story. I read the book, never watched the movie. Um, but they're insecure about that. That makes them insecure when they see a black girl in a situation that they feel like they should be in. This is why when black girls win beauty pageants and stuff, they go out of their way to dog that black girl. When they see a black dude who's like a superhero in the movie, they go out of their way to dog that black dude for being in a superhero movie, because that makes them insecure, because they feel like they always have to have an advantage over somebody. They constantly need um that everything is pro-white, pro-white, pro-white. The second anything is even across the board, they lose their minds. They completely lose their minds, because they have insecurities. This is why they don't like to have black people compete with them. They don't believe in competition. Richard Spencer even said that. He's one of the people, white supremacists, who are honest enough to even say that. He doesn't believe in competition. He doesn't believe in fairness. Because deep down, and we learned this from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, deep down, these people are incredibly insecure of black people. These people feel as if they compete with black people on an even playing field, that they will lose. It's a guaranteed loss for them. That's why every single thing that they do, they always have to, okay, we got to sabotage that person. We have to have an advantage. We have to have a head start. If we don't have a head start, then that's not fair. How is it fair if we don't have a head start? This is why you see they try to keep black people out of certain sports. There was a certain point in time when they didn't really want Venus and Serena playing tennis. To be honest, a lot of them still don't, and they still don't really let black people play tennis like that. Tennis is still mostly dominated by white people, and they want to keep it that way, because they feel like, damn, the second you start letting Negroes into the field, the second you start letting them have a fair chance to play, with everybody else, they're sweeping the board. They're at the top of their charts, and there's no taking them down. They didn't want Tiger Woods to play golf. The second you let a black man in this sport, now anytime somebody thinks of a golf player, they're thinking of Tiger Woods. I don't even watch golf, and I'm sure a lot of people don't watch golf either. But if somebody says, hey, can you name a famous golf player? People are thinking of Tiger Woods. Nobody's thinking of any other golf player. He's the only golf player that anybody thinks about. There are some people who watch tennis, some people who don't. When you say, think of a famous tennis player, you're thinking of Venus and Serena Williams, or even that other, like, half black, half Japanese girl. I think it's Nasaki, I believe. You can't even really think of no white girl like that. That's the insecurity that they feel within themselves. They feel that deep down within themselves. That's why they need all of these advantages. That's why they're scared to compete fairly. So we have to understand that, and we have to look at that and say, if these people are scared for me to have a fair chance, because they know if I had a fair chance to compete with them, I'm going to win. If these people feel like they need to cheat, then what does that make me feel about myself? That should make me feel that I'm like the king of the world. That should make me feel like I'm on top of everything. Because if you felt like you were better, you would never need to cheat. You don't need to cheat when you feel like you can beat somebody. But the fact that I see them cheating, the fact that I see them trying to sabotage, means I know that I can beat them. Means I know that they feel like I can beat them. So that's something that we all really need to come to grips with. I want to teach young black children, young black little boys and young black little girls this concept, because this concept can end the next generation. Because to be honest, it's already too many crabs in the bucket in this generation. But what we can do, and this is just me, what my solution is, but what we can do is we can start focusing on the very next generation that comes after them. Even if we can't end it with this generation right now, we can make sure the next generation, there's no crabs in the bucket that they have to deal with. Because like I'm saying, that stems from the fact that you feel like you can't do it. I don't need to go you don't see me going around sneak dissing somebody and then being all like, oh, I'm so happy for you. And it's out of jealousy. I'm not jealous that there are some people, when I go to the gym, these people can lift more weight than I can. These people can run faster than I can. When I'm outside in my daily life, I see people and they're in nicer cars than me. I see people and they have more money than I do. They have more success than I do. They have more followers than I do. They have things that I don't have. I don't look at that and say, I wish they didn't have it. I say, good for them, but I got you though. I'm going to top that though. Good for you though. I'm glad you have your house, your car, whatever you have. But my time is coming. My time is coming. I'm not there yet, but I do believe that I am the type of person who can get there, who will get there. So that's what gives me the confidence in myself. And that's why I think that we should start teaching younger children that way. Somebody text and said another point is the reason their labels are about to carry out the hit on the artist is because of the crabs in the bucket mentality. It can be both can be true. Yes, both can be true. Both can be true. There's a lot of people that, like I said, when I saw that interview with Chief Keef, he said he's not coming back to the hoods of Chicago, despite him growing up there, because he knows the people he grew up with, those are the people who's going to sabotage him. Those are the people who's preying on his downfall. Those were the people who told him he couldn't do it. So you think that he got on and then they're going to turn a new leaf? They told him he couldn't do it because they didn't want him to do it. And these people will sabotage every type of way. We have to watch out for that. And I know everybody wants to be that type of person who gets on and then they want to bring everybody that they knew up. They want to bring up the whole neighborhood, everybody in the family. They get a new job and they want to pull everybody into that new job or whatever the case is. We have situations like that. Of course we do. We all want that for our people, but we do have to understand and vet people. And we do have to be able to tell little microaggressions and passive aggressiveness when we're successful. So way we don't sabotage ourselves. Because one of the things too is the people you keep around you is very important too. The people you associate with, the people that you tell secrets to are very important as well too. The people that you tell your insecurities to are very important. The people that you trust are very important. You can't trust everybody, even people that you grew up with, even people in your family. And that's so sad and unfortunate, but that's just the truth. There are people in my family, and I'm kind of very close with my family for the most part. There's people in my family I do not talk to. I don't wish them bad, but I don't talk to them. And if we was in the same place at the same time, there would not be any words exchanged. There wouldn't be no hello, no goodbye, no nothing. We are on very bad terms, you know, and it's been years of build up worth of stuff. So that's just what it is. Because it was constant little every time we didn't see each other. And I'm just gonna say it. It's one of me and my cousins. Um, one of my cousins was always like the poster boy, pretty much. And he was my older. I looked up to him. I kind of wanted to be like him to a degree, right? Even though I thought um, he was a loner, less like me. He was kind of a loner, kind of quiet. But hey, he was smart. He was sharp. He had nice clothes. He had nice toys. He pretty much, to me, in my eyes, he had everything. But he was always hating on me for whatever reason. And I'm sitting up there trying to uh, be close to him, trying to look up to him and trying to be on his level. And I didn't even know that he had insecurities within himself and he was hating on me. He thought that I had something that he didn't have. You know, so it was years and years of little comments. Every time we see each other, he would have something like slick to say and it would be disguised as a joke. And you know, as FBA people, we know we can take a joke. We roast each other like, hey man, your barber really messed you up or whatever the case is. And man, look at your shoes. It's some jokey like that. But there was a truth I felt behind his joke every time. So much so other family members started to call it out. I remember my auntie was all like, hey, that's the first thing you want to say to him after after y'all haven't seen each other in so long. That's the first thing you're gonna say is you're gonna kind of like try to roast him a little bit. It wasn't even like, oh hello, how you doing, and catching up, then a roast. It was, and she kind of looked at him like, damn, I'm disappointed. But it was years of that stuff, and it kind of started to click. Like, does this dude like have an issue with me? Is there a problem? And I didn't think it was a problem because we were close. We used to talk all the time. And mind you, this person, my cousin, we had a very good relationship. We used to talk about movies, life, job, women, all of these things. And anytime I would tell him about a struggle that I would go through, he was all ears. We would talk about it in detail, any issue I had going on. It was like, man, I already know, it's hard out here, these women, this job, and they don't pay you enough and all of this stuff. Anytime I complained, he would be like jubilant to a degree to hear it. It was all ears. Anytime I said, hey, man, hey, I got this YouTube channel coming on. I'm looking for people to have on it. You want to hop? Nah, I'm cool. I don't do all that. Anytime I would tell him about something I did, hey, I just got this new car or whatever. Uh, you know, You want to we'll look at it. Yeah, nah, I'm cool. And now, anytime I would tell him about something good that I accomplished, he was very short. It was, oh yeah, good for you. There was one time I sent him a picture. It was like on Instagram Messenger or something. Oh, I sent him a text. It was years ago, something like that. Something positive, and I expected some positive feedback from it. And he just gave me like the clapping emojis. There wasn't even no words said. And I was like, okay, that's a weird way to congratulate somebody, I guess, or whatnot. I'm all like, okay. And it started to click like my negative things when I would complain, when I was out there bitching about my life. These are the times when your low-key haters that are in your circle, these are the times when they're around you the most. These are the times when they're sitting up there like, hey man, they sitting up there in the room complaining with you. They're helping you complain. Yeah, and didn't that make you feel really sad? I mean, you can cry, man. I mean, your life is shitty. It seems like you can never catch a break. And you sitting up there be all like, oh man, I know, right? And you upset, and they're low-key happy that you're upset. And then the second you come in, like, hey, bro, I finally got that job. I finally got that promotion, finally got that raise, finally moved to a new apartment. They go into an apartment, they be like, it's nice, I guess. I mean, the water pressure in the shower isn't really, I would tell the landlord about that. But I mean, it's cool. I mean, I ain't hating. It's a little small for my taste, but I ain't hating. Uh, that's your couch. I mean, yeah, I mean that's cool, I guess. A little, oh, I mean, what you got that from grandma or something? I mean, oh, okay, yes. I ain't hating, no. I ain't hating, no. Now I would have a bigger TV than that, though. Me personally, I would have a little bit bigger TV than that. I ain't hating. They come in, then when you say something good about yourself, then they come in with the negative opinions. Yeah, yeah, I would. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy that your apartment complex left the garbage right there. You can kind of like smell it from the balcony. Um, I mean, but that's good for you though. This is a good start, I guess. You know what I'm saying? You need some light bulbs? I see you need some light bulbs. You got a lot of work to do. I mean, it's good. It's a good start though. Yet when you complaining about yourself, those are the times when they want to be around you the most. You have something to say?
No, that was really yeah. Those comments you were making was like accurate. I see a lot of people laughing about that.
And they're laughing because a lot of times people can relate to it.
Right, right.
These are the people we gotta, and unfortunately, it be some of your closest folks. It's some of your closest people that's around you that have this mentality of when they check is short, they want your check to be short. You know what I'm saying? So much so, and to a degree, we have to cut ties. I said this once in the space before that you shouldn't be engaging in burning bridges. And there's nuance to that. There are some bridges that you should burn, and then there are some bridges that you should keep up. If you feel like you are just disconnected with somebody and you guys are just on different paths of life at the moment, you don't necessarily have to burn that bridge. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily have to be an ugly situation, an ugly fallout. There are some people who are like distant family members or whatnot. We've had our back and forths, but it's not been no ugly fallout to where if we see each other, we can't joke around and say hello. And then there are some cases where if you feel like that person is preying on your downfall, if you feel like that person is like a cancer in your circle, if that person is an anchor on your life, then you do have to burn that bridge. And it hurts because it is cousins. Sometimes is siblings. Sometimes it's even parents. A lot of people aren't even ready to have that situation. Sometimes you grow up, you get an apartment, you get a job, you get a career younger than your parents got one, and your parents aren't even happy for you in some of the cases. They should be the first ones cheering your name. They should be the main ones excited for you. Your parents are looking at you with criticism and kind of vitriol. I had this one space not too long ago about the elders versus the olders. We got a lot of older people in our that they're not elders, they're the olders. We have olders in our community. They're looking at the younger people. They don't like the fact that they missed their boat. They missed their chance. They finessed the bag for themselves. So when they see that young kid on the block and they see him doing something good, now they looking at him some type of way. They don't want to help him because they want him to fail, because they feel like they're stuck and they're never going to be able to get anywhere. They're never going to be able to succeed. So that's it with them. So we have to have that conversation. And I'm not saying the second somebody gives you constructive criticism, and that's something I want to get into. There's a difference between constructive criticism, even harsh constructive criticism, and then somebody hating on you. There's a nuance between both of those two things that it's very crucial for people to understand, because some people feel as if everything said to them is, oh, you just hating on me, you just hating on me. No matter what, no matter how somebody words it, no matter how helpful somebody tries to be about it, every single thing that they say, oh, you just hating on me. That's not the key. You have to be able to have um the comprehension skills to determine whether it's hating versus whether it is constructive criticism, even harsh constructive criticism. Gerard, you can go. I got your name right?
Yeah. You got it. You got it. Don't worry. I was gonna say, it kind of reminds me of. I was thinking back to, when I got involved in some community activism in my city. There's certain things that you hear, right? I don't know if anybody else has had a similar story or anything like that, but there's a lot. Sometimes in like a lot of cities, there's different organizations, different groups, because people have different objectives and different goals, right? And for the most part, a lot of these organizations, they do start in some kind of good natured kind of desire to help the community in some way or the other. But when you join or you get involved with some of these politics, and I don't know, you guys can tell me if it happens in your cities as well. You ever notice the language sometimes where you'll hear people say things like, "Oh well, we've been doing this," or you're just starting off in this," or like little like kind of tropes and little words almost to say like almost like wait in line or for your idea that you're bringing to the table, or you need to develop some kind of you need to have to have been doing this for a certain amount of years before somebody needs to
I
listen to
think it
you.
gives sorority fraternity vibes, to be honest. And I've always said it when it comes to like our community. That's the only thing that I really hate about like sometimes the organizations, because it's some hazing going on, it's some popularity contest going on, it's some ignoring vital things going on. But that's just kind of the things, I guess, to a certain extent. I mean, it is kind of like a social it is. It's. I'm not gonna say a social club, but you get what
Hazing
I'm
was
saying.
the
There's
right
those
word too.
social aspects, those political aspects that nobody wants to talk about. They want to be hush hush, and God dare you bring it up, damned you, get out the room. But it's happening, okay? It happens. People get hazed, and I mean, it just all depends on what you want. Because that's why I didn't pledge. Y'all. I went to an HBCU.
Okay.
There's a lot that's kind of different about me. I looked into those sororities. It's not really what you think. We're not Greek for a reason. Long story. And my mom was a Delta, so don't get me wrong. Like, there's a perception and there's a reality. So don't mean to rant, but yeah, that's definitely what's going on with a lot of our
I've
group
seen
efforts.
that. Yeah, definitely seen that. The hazing, that was a really good word. And then the hater thing you were just talking about, Afro Elite too. Saying that everything is hating on you. Like some stuff is just constructive criticism. Like, you got to be able to have a little bit of a little bit resilient to some of the stuff. I mean, I got my red line though. I got, if it's coming on some type of disrespect, I got my own triggers where like, for me, if it goes past a certain point, like I know that I might respond in a way that's not good for me or the other person. So, those type of things, I just try to avoid that. But as far as like, constructive criticism, yeah, if somebody coming with you with, they're not being disrespectful, they might offer some information, you know, maybe take a listen. You know what I mean? Like you don't got to be, defensive about it. Try to look at it maybe from their perspective or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And see, these are things. Thank you for that. Thank y'all for that. These are
Sure.
things that prevent your self improvement when you're unable to take constructive criticism, because in life, if you're not growing, you're eventually gonna fall. There's no stagnation when it comes to success. Your success is either going to grow or it's going to be stagnant to a degree, and then it's going to decline. Is what it is. It's a hill. It's either going up or down. So when you're trying to go up, it's going to be difficult, and you're going to want to be around people who actually want to see you succeed. And sometimes they might be harsh. I remember when I first started my YouTube channel, there it was incredibly difficult because I had a lot of issues, especially when I was going live. I had a lot of issues when it came to sound. It was Afro, you are too low, we can barely hear you. And sometimes I was able to figure out where somebody was trolling. There was sometimes I would have like suspected white supremacists. They're in the chat room. They're all like, "I'm glad we could barely hear you, because we know you're just telling straight up lies." Sometimes I could filter that out, but then sometimes I would get a text like, "Hey, you know, I looked up this microphone on Amazon, or whatever. So maybe you should get that, or maybe you should use this program, this software, this whatever, and that might amplify your volume because it is a little bit difficult for you to hear." And they would have to say it in such a nice way. They were all like, "Hey, I really like the content, and I'm not hating. I watch, I like the videos, I subscribe. I'm really not trying to hate." Or whatever. I just really want you to do good. So I hope it doesn't come off the wrong way. But sometimes it is difficult for me to hear you. And I'm like, it's a shame that you got to preflex yourself like that to that degree, because certain people are like, "Oh, you can't hear me? Well, why don't you just unsubscribe? Why do you even watch it then if you can't hear me? You know what? And nobody's making you watch anything." Because sometimes people do be like that. Sometimes people actually do get like that. The second they hear, like, "Hey, Afro, we can't hear you." Or, "Why don't y'all unsubscribe then? I'm not making nobody listen to me." Instead of looking at it like, what, if they can't hear, I need to do something better. You know what
And
I'm
the
saying?
sad
If
thing,
they
Afro,
can't
is
hear, I need to fix
some
myself.
people would like you more if you were like that, because I feel like it's like psychological. When you're mean to people like that, they would probably be like, "Oh, Afro, tell me more." But I just wanted to interject and say
Probably,
If it
he'd
probably,
was
be
ratchet,
nicer to
if it was
you.
ratchet.
probably. But these are things that stop your self improvement when you can't take constructive criticism. We are not perfect. Ain't nobody in this room, especially myself, perfect. We are not perfect. There are things that we mess up on. There's things that people can be like, uh another flaw that I would make is when I would, especially when I was going on live, and I would think of something, and I'd be like, "Oh man, okay, let me look this case up, let me look this story up." And then it I would spend like 4 or 5 minutes just on Google, and I would have the audience just watch me type on Google, and they'd be all like, "Hey, ain't nobody trying to see you type on Google, man." So somebody told me, and they didn't want to say it because they knew it would sound rude, I guess. But somebody told me, they were all like, "You're gonna have to have all of that stuff ready before you go on live. All of the stuff that you think that you want to mention in your live video, you're gonna have all of that stuff ready to go. So the second you mention it, you can pull it up." Now, of course, um, for content creators, and we got Beat Zill in the room. Speaking of content creators, shout out to you. But of course, content creators, when you're on live, you're gonna think of something in the middle of the live. And even Linus Crown, she used to do YouTube at one point. Believe she's going back, so looking forward to that. So just people who go live, you think of stuff in the middle of your life. You're live, you like, "Oh, I just thought of that. That's gonna be a great addition to what I'm saying." And then you look it up in the middle of the live. That happens sometimes. But what you should try to do is try to make sure every single thing that you think that you're going to mention is all lined up. And somebody had to tell that to me. And I had to look at it, and I had to be humble myself, and I had to be all like, "You know what? It does look amateurish if I can't do that. It does look corny if I'm sitting up there typing in the middle of the live like I'm not ready. Somebody had to tell me like, hey, no offense, but you're going to have to improve your 720p HD camera to at least the 1080p HD camera or a 4K camera. Now, the thing is that the software I'm using isn't compatible with 4K. I have a 4K camera, but the software I'm using isn't compatible. That's why it only goes up to 1080, which is fine. Which, I mean, because most, computers and everything like that, they don't play on 4K anyway. But it goes up to 1080, which is better than 720. So when people tell me things about, oh, I like this, but I want you to improve on this, or I think you should improve on this, or when they say, I don't, that joke might have been in bad taste, might have been in poor taste. Sometimes you don't even have to listen to everybody's advice. Sometimes people tell me to go in a direction. People tell me to lighten up sometimes. I remember one of my family members, he was all like, when I first started to like go against the Pan-Africanist concept, one of my family, not my cousin, not the same cousin I was saying earlier, but one of my family members, he was all like, oh man, I mean, you started your channel off talking about like black people and black empowerment. Now you sitting up there going against your own people. I'm all like, I don't feel like I'm going against my own people. I don't even feel like I'm going against African people. I just feel like I'm calling out people who need to be called out. If you don't need to be called out, now I'm not going to mention you. If you need to be called out, then I'm going to call you out. I'm going to address it. And that goes across the board. It's not, the diaspora isn't exempt from that. So sometimes I do have people who tell me, yeah, but I feel like, you might have a better reach if you kind of laid off of all of that stuff, all of the tether comments and stuff. Cause what if somebody gets offended, and what if they don't subscribe? And that was their honest advice to me. And I said, I'm still going in my own direction. Everybody's advice to you isn't, the advice that you take. If you feel like their advice, they might do things differently than you, but you have your own path, you know where you want to go, then you can do what you want to do. I listened to them. I heard them out. I disagreed though, and I decided to continue. That's where I was with it. You don't have to take the advice of you don't have to be a yes man to everything. You don't have to, well, anytime somebody tells me to do something, yes, 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 yes. You don't have to do that. You can say, you know what, this is, thank you. And I thank them. I'm like, well, thank you. I understand you want to help. You want to see me grow. I appreciate that. However, this is the direction I want the channel to go in. And I continue with it that way. So, and this is why I say you need balance with everything. You need balance when it comes to even listening to people's advice. If I wasn't listening to people's advice about the audio, I still might have bad audio or a 720 camera or whatever the case is. But if I listen to everybody's advice, now I'd damn near be on some all lives matter stuff. Listening to everybody's advice. You can't listen to everybody's advice, but you got to listen to some people's advice. So there's a balance in that too. And when somebody gives you advice, you have to have the comprehension skills to determine whether something is advice or whether something is straight up hating. There was
much I was gonna say much respect to you, brother, man. I gotta get going, but I really enjoyed this space, man. I'll definitely be stopping through again, man.
Oh yeah, appreciate your comments, brother. You take care.
You already know, respect. All right, JL.
Yep, much respect. But damn, I kind of lost my train of thought. But there's difference between I was saying there's difference between people hating on you and then people who want to see you do well. And sometimes people who want to see you do well, they're not going to say it the nicest way. Sometimes people who do well, they just don't know how to give advice to people in a nice way. Sometimes it's harsh. Like I watch Jason Black's channel, The Business. That's like his second channel. I'm sure you all are familiar with it. And a lot of times he says things that come off as harsh to people. But those are good pieces of advice, despite the fact that he might put it in a way that's not super friendly. He might not be the friendliest person, and he's never said he's the friendliest person, but he does want to see people succeed. He does want to see you do well. So if you're calling to him and you're talking, and he says, "Hey, you know what? You need to shut up and listen because you don't know what you're talking about." It's not that he's saying that because he doesn't want you to see well. Because he would have clicked you off. He would have hung up on you if he didn't. You actually do need to shut up and listen because you don't know what you're talking about. There's things that some people, they might say it in a way like, "Hey, you know what? They might grab you by the shoulders and shake you a little." And I'm not, advocating that necessarily, but they might grab you by the shoulders and shake you a little bit and tell you like, "Hey, get your shit together. What are you doing? You're falling off. You looking bad out here. You looking dusty out here. Why are you hating? Why are you being lazy? What is wrong with you?" They might give you that kick in the ass that you need. Everybody needs that person in their life who, when they get down, like, "Oh, he's me." And then there's somebody who just busts through the door and says, "If you don't get your ass up out of bed," they grab you by the arm. They say, "Get up and you better get something done today." You need that person to tell you that. Some people really need that. But the thing is that Jason isn't bashing the other person. Jason isn't hating on the other person. There's a difference between hating on somebody and then giving them tough criticism. There are people who need tough criticism. There's people who need somebody to say, "Hey, shut up. You think you got it, you don't." There's people who need that. Too many times we have certain people who are oversensitive in our community, where the second somebody says something, they gotta have advice watered down to them, and it gotta be covered with sprinkles and sugar, and it gotta be the sweetest, most delectable piece of advice they've ever heard in their life, and they gotta come and they gotta to bend the knee and say, "Sire or madam, much respect and praise to everything you've ever done in your life. I would like to humbly, if I may, as a peasant, give you a word of advice, sir, just from my perspective. You can take it or you can't take it. It doesn't matter because you're just so great and you don't need it. But I would just like to give you some, like, people got to come to you like that to give you advice, then you have a problem. People shouldn't have to come to people like that to give advice if they are good, if they are honest people, if they mean you well. If they don't mean you well, then you should be able to filter that out. But your family member, your sister or whatever, your parents or whatnot, they not gonna come to you with sugar-coated advice, with sprinkles and flowers, and then they're not gonna say, "You know what, I want to give you this advice, but let me give you this basket of roses before I give you the advice to kind of cushion your feelings up, because this might hurt your feelings a little bit." Sometimes people do need that kick in the ass. Sometimes people do need that, "Hey, get up and do it." That's not hating. I see too many people talking about, "I got haters, I got haters." No, you got supporters that you're cutting off. You got people who were really looking out for you, but when you feel like you got on, now you sit up there looking at everybody else like they're trying to sabotage you, and they're actually trying to help you. Like I was saying earlier in the beginning of the space, too many people cut off their own opportunities, burn their own bridges. People who are actually looking out to help them. These are not crabs in a bucket people. You might have been hurt or burned or betrayed by some crabs in a bucket people, to where now you are thinking, and this is the danger of having crabs in a bucket people in the society. Because when you get sabotaged by a crab in a bucket, now you're looking around at everybody like they're a bunch of shisty little crabs. Now the second somebody's trying to get your attention, now the second somebody's trying to give you some advice, you identify them like, "Oh, you must be hating on me. You must be a crab because you've been hurt so much." You can't get over the fact that you've been sabotaged by somebody you know personally, that now you think that every bit of advice or criticism that somebody gives you, even if they mean well, you think that that's somebody trying to sabotage you. You feel like everybody out there is preying on your downfall. Actually, no, everybody isn't preying on your downfall. Some people are just telling you some unpleasant truth, and you're just not ready to listen to it. You just don't have the capacity to absorb constructive criticism, and that hurts you. So that's why this crabs in a bucket mentality is so dangerous, because it can hurt on both ends. You can either be hurt by the crab over and over and over, or you can be hurt by the crab one time and you're so overly protective, so overly sensitive about that one crab, that you send up there saying everybody is hating on you. Oh, just don't nobody want to see me succeed. Everybody got something negative to say. Let me give you a word of advice. You will not get anywhere in life if everybody around you is a yes man. If everybody around you agrees with every single thing that you say, you're not going to get anywhere in life. Okay. This is why you see a lot of those celebrities, they reach to a certain level and then they seem like they fall off. These comedians, they seem like they fall off because they only surround themselves with people who agree with every single thing that they say. Every single joke they say, they running across the room. Oh my God, that's the funniest joke I ever heard in my life. Every single thing. They're not around people who's gonna say, "Hey, man, that's corny. That's kind of corny. I don't think that's a good idea." They're not around people who will do that for them. They're around a bunch of yes men, and they're not going to succeed because they can't grow any further when you're around a bunch of yes men. This even goes with relationships too. Too often I see people in relationships and they want to be around somebody who agrees with them all the time. There's no relationship, there should be no relationship where somebody is agreeing with every single word that you say. You should have somebody be all like, baby, you that's not right. Come on now. You kind of doing too much. Or you tripping, or I would do it this way better. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody who's talking to you like that, who's telling you, you know what, yeah, you kind of off a little bit. I love you, but you tripping, you doing too much, you off, you wrong with this one, or whatnot. Or here's what you should be doing instead. That's what you need. But some too many people, they only want to be around what they call positivity, which is they want to be around people who agree with every damn thing that they do and every damn thing that they say. And these people can't succeed because you're going to have flaws. And the yes men around you, they're not going to help you with the flaws. They're just going to try to cover it up because you don't want to face your flaws. You don't want to face criticism. You don't want to self-improve. And the people around you, they're not going to call it out either. So you're just going to go on and continue making mistake after mistake and flaw after flaw and mess up after mess up. And nobody's going to call it out. You're not going to do it. Your circle's not going to do it. And then you're going to fall off. So a lot of times it's good for people to have that person, not a naysayer necessarily, not a pessimist. You don't want somebody who only has negative things to say about you. But you do want somebody who's around you who's all like, yeah, Afro, I don't think you should have made that joke. I feel like that was in poor taste. I don't think you should have did that. Whether I agree or disagree, I appreciate you telling me. I swear to God, I really do. That's why when people message me like, "Hey, Afro, I don't agree with this." You do not see me sitting up there like, "Oh, well, if you don't agree, you can get out of here. Why are you even here if you don't agree?" You don't see me doing that. You see me being all like, you know what? Whether even if because I'm a stubborn person. I'm not gonna lie. I am. I'm a stubborn person. Um, Even if I still keep my stance on the issue, even if I still do that, I'm still gonna be like, you know what? But thank you for your opinion, though. Thank you for sharing. I'll take what you said into consideration. Whether I move differently or not, I'll take what you said into consideration. You know, Sometimes they do give good advice, and then sometimes I just disagree. But I appreciate you wanting to help enough to tell me that you feel like there's something that I can do to improve on, or you feel like I'm doing something wrong. I appreciate that, because that's what, when you're confident, that's what winners do. You know, I'm gonna be honest. People who need a lot of yes men around them, that stems from insecurity as well. That stems from the fact that they need they have focused their group to be all like, you know what, the only people I want around me are somebody who's going to validate me. I need constant validation. I need to constantly be told that I'm funny, that I'm on top, that I'm winning, that I'm not losing. I need to constantly get that validation. I can't hear any constructive criticism, or else it's going to throw me off. When you're a confident person, you are going to feel comfortable being around somebody who's going to say, hey man, you was really messing up. And a confident person is going to shake his head and be all like, or, you know what, you're right, you're right, I'm messing up, I need to get it together, I need to get my head in the game. And then they're going to go out there and win. That's what you need. These are things that's going to prevent you from or promote you being successful, being confident. At the end of the day, I don't surround myself with people who agree with everything I say. And I'm not the type of person who agrees with everything somebody says just because. If they make a statement that I disagree with, I'll say respectfully. I ain't gonna be like, oh, you stupid as hell. I would say respectfully, like, hey, you know what? Let me push back against that a little bit. Or I have a different opinion about that. I say that respectfully. I want to make an announcement though. You guys know Thursdays is when I go live on YouTube. So I'm going live at 7 o'clock. I still got to get ready for it. So I'm not going to keep this space open too much longer. If anybody would like to come up real quick, look through my DMs. If anybody would like to come up real quick and give a couple words about the space, any comments or anything like that, they can feel free. I'm thinking that I'm going to do this, keep the space open for another maybe 15 or 20 minutes. So within the next 15 or 20 minutes, I'm definitely going to be shutting this space down. I appreciate everybody being here, though. I really do. Because these are definitely conversations that we need to have. We need to be careful with who we keep around us. We need to be careful with ourselves, not just who we keep around us, with ourselves. We don't want to be those. We don't want to be those crabs in a bucket people. We don't want to be preying on somebody else's downfall. We want to be happy for that person. We want that person to succeed. You should want to be at a point in your life when you're looking back at all the struggles and hardships that you went through, and you can say, oh man, remember uh in 2020 and 2022 when we had to go through this, and it seemed like it was tough. You want to be that type of person who's looking back on the years, and you're looking at it and say, I'm glad we as a team overcame that. That's what you should want for yourself and for the next person. And I'm glad you made it out of that. I'm glad you got yourself a new career. I'm glad you put out a new album or made a new movie or bought a new car or business, or got married or had another baby or whatever the case is. I'm happy for you with all of those things. That should be the type of person that you want to be. You should be the type of person who understands the necessary balance between constructive criticism and somebody hating and bashing on you and somebody trying to sabotage you on the low. I realized that because when people have constructive criticism for you, a lot of times they will be happy when you succeed. That's, if you want to know from my personal experience, that is one thing that I would say you guys should pay attention to. If you want to know the difference between somebody who is a hater or somebody who just gives you constructive criticism, you should look at it and be all like, okay, the person who is giving you constructive criticism, when you do make it, or the successes that you do have along the way, they're going to be there and they're going to be applauding you. A lot of times, they're going to be the ones giving you the loudest applause. They're going to be the ones giving you the loudest praise. The most praise are the people who are always critical of you or give you constructive criticism. Now, when somebody who's always quote unquote giving you constructive criticism, but when you do make it, when you do accomplish something, when you do be like, hey man, my video just hit 1,000 views, man, this is my first 100 subscribers or whatever. Like, yeah, that's cool. Hey, I just got this car, career. I just got married. I just had a baby. I just whatever. They, that's nice. That's cool. That's great. The people who are your low-key haters, those are the people who don't want to say anything when you actually do become successful or when you actually do have an accomplishment. Those are the people who seem to be very silent when you do. That's a good way to vet people who are in your corner for you and who have your back for yourself and want the best for the team versus somebody who's actually hating on you, who actually wants you to fail, but they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that they think that way about you and that they want that for you. So that's the advice that I would give. That, and I had to learn that the hard way. I definitely have to learn that the hard way. I would like to thank everybody in the space for showing up. I appreciate it. But like I said, I'm going to be wrapping this up in a few minutes. So, if anybody would like to come up and speak, just give me some water real quick. I'm going to pause for a little bit. If anybody would like to come up and speak real quick, you guys can feel free to do so. Hopefully everything's been going well. Hopefully everything's been going well with you. If you guys haven't seen, like I said earlier before, I do have a YouTube channel and it's in the Jumbotron, so you guys can kindly, if you may, go there and subscribe, check out the content. I would greatly appreciate that. And I have a free shipping sale on my merchandise going on too. That's also in the Jumbotron as well too. So you guys definitely want to check that out as well too. Some really good merchandise. I will give credit. A lot of the designs that you see, I've done all of the designs where you have like the figure like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. I did that myself. There are some like other like graphic logos and designs that I've done, and then there are some like graphic designers that I've done business with, and they've done some designs. So in a while, I'll be giving them their credit too. I don't want you guys to think like, oh man, that's a wonderful design. Where'd you come up with it? I'm gonna be honest, I didn't come up with all of the designs. Sometimes people would just send me designs. One of my latest design, somebody sent it to me. They just hit me up on Instagram and they was all like, hey, I really love the content. I love what you're doing. I made you this design. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh wow, I like this design. This is what's up. And I used it. And shout out to her for doing that. So, you got to give people credit where it's due. You know, that's one thing I don't necessarily like either. When people are helping you, and let me give this last piece of advice, I guess. When people are helping you, um, give them their credit. Everybody has a role to play, but nobody wants to feel like their role is insignificant. Nobody wants to feel like they're not really a part of the big picture just because they might not be the face in the camera. You know, I was having an interview with our brother Sage out here, and this man, every other word was shout out to my producer, shout out to my producer, because I couldn't do it without him. His producer was having technical issues, so he couldn't be a part of that live in particular. Maybe next time, but he wasn't all like, "Hey, I'm the face of this. I'm the one rapping. I'm the one doing all the work. I, I'm I'm the poster boy." This every other word, he was all like, "Hey, shout out to my producer, my engineer. He was, he's helped me out. He's put me on." Um, so that's what you do when you have a good heart with somebody. That's what a good hearted person is going to do. His brother Juan. Shout out to Juan. Every other word it was shout out to Juan. That is goodness. Let me he's requested to speak again. Let me bring him back. That's what you do for the people who have been helping you. The people who have been supporting you, even if they're in the background, even if the ones giving you the cash apps, unless they say don't say my name, then that's what it is. But they're the ones giving you the cash apps. They're the ones helping you with the designs. They're the ones who's reviewing the videos or the music or the speech, whatever the case is. You give them their credit. I was rereading uh Dr. John, not John Henrik Clark, Dr. Claude Anderson's book, right? Um, and one of his first things was he was like, shout out to my wife for helping me make this book. This was a stressful book for me to make. Shout out to her. His name is on the cover of the book, but he's not all like my genius alone put this book together. He was all like, no, my wife, she's not on the cover of the book. I'm on the cover of the book, but I'm going to take a page or two to give her credit for her participation in the book. And that's what honorable people do. But we got a brother Sage back on the stage, so you can go ahead.
Yes, yes, brother Elite. I do want to touch upon that again. Um, there's nothing that gets done, solo. So again, when I was up on your broadcast, I always had to shout out my brother because again, I'm only 50%. I'm only half of what you guys hear. If you've listened to my music, if you checked it out, I'm only half of it. So my brother's always, and I think he's in the chat here somewhere. My brother's always, the other half. He's not a silent partner, but again, that broadcast he was having, we were having a little technical issues, but we will be back. But again, I want to say this: there's no one face of everything. You brought up earlier about teamwork. Um, there's an artist, if you guys ever heard of him, his name is Jay-Z. When Jay-Z first came out, he had Damon Dash. He also had Key Kareem Biggs Burks, and then with our brother Kareem Biggs was more of the money guy. Dame was more of the talker. Dame was the businessman. Jay just did the music. You understand? So where Jay lacked in with the business side, Dame picked up. Where Jay lacked in with the money side, Big picked up. And where they both lacked in with the music side, Jay-Z picked up. So again, it's always a team effort to get things accomplished. So again, I do want to because you touched up on a great point there, brother Elite. So I just wanted to touch upon that. But much love to you, and make sure you guys do subscribe. Again, my brother Afro has a lot of great content coming out and on his channel already. So please subscribe to it. And again, if you're gonna subscribe to a Vlad TV or whatever the case is, y'all make sure y'all give this brother a subscribe too. Also, my brother Beatzilla and Jesus, brother Alpha, y'all give them y'all subscribe to them too, because again, it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to them. Okay, give them a listen, give them a view. The same thing like you do for Vlad TV. Okay, and that's all I ask. And with that, I land.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely, I appreciate that. We got Catching Hell. Catching Hell, you can unmute yourself.
How you doing, brother? I just recently started following you, and much love to Sister D Tubman. She gets me through the work days. I hope she has a speedy recovery. But I wanted to ask you. I wanted to talk to you about this. This is a girl in Philly here, North Philly. She owns a restaurant called Country Cooking. Now she gets lines out the restaurant, up the block, and we all support her. She goes to different restaurants. She has different restaurant spaces in supermarkets, and we support the sister. You know why we support her? Because she gives back. When she gives back to the community, she goes from book bags for the elementary school students to refrigerators, microwaves, and computers for the the college students, the black college students in North Philly. And the problem is when these rappers they get this money and they just say, I'm just gonna take your money and I'm gone. She gives back to the community. This woman can walk down any street in Philly, and y'all know how bad. I don't know if y'all heard about Philly, but it's really bad. The murder rate is really high in Philly. And she was like, yo, she could walk down the street dripping with ice and have two Birkin bags on, and nobody better not touch her because she gives back so much. Even Dr. Boyce Watkins talked about how gaudy she was. You could talk about how gaudy she is because even only the government came after her and they tried to get her on she owes this much money because she was on disability. She had a stroke. She faked it. And she owned a business to this that, and the third. So they charged her a couple of 100,000, which was nothing. We always support her because she gives back to all these black kids trying to go to school, and she just does the whole gamut. So nobody messes with her. The problem with these young bucks, because I'm 51, the problem with these young bucks is they just want to take and they want to roll. I'm gonna get all the money I can from the community, and then I'm out of here. Forget them. I'm not giving back. I'm just gone. You can't do that, man. I don't. If you making millions of dollars, even if you gave 10,000 to, even to her, to say, yo, I'm gonna give 10,000 for the book bag for your drive that you have for the students, and everything is back to school time. I get that, and then people will look at you and they'll protect the community will respect you if you respect the community, just like they did Frank Lucas. He said, I ain't worried about Harlem. I'm gonna take care of Harlem and Harlem's gonna take care of me. Well, that's the same thing that she has going on. The community is going to take care of her. They ain't nobody gonna run up on her because they know if they did something to her, it's suicide. And I land my plane there, brother.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Um, I think it's older. I don't necessarily want to put it all off on the younger generation. However, I would say it's older people who are like that too. They get theirs and they feel like, hey, what's mine is mine, and was yours is mine too. I don't even need to. Ain't no teamwork. I'm gonna say one thing. You got a lot of speaking of celebrities who always feel like the black community doesn't have their back. These are this is the cost of you not investing back in the community. We're not saying you got to go back and sign autographs or anything like that, but you can actually invest. You can put people on. You can do that to people and help people come up and help people succeed. All right. So when you need some support, when you fell off or whatever the case is, then you got the support of the people. You're speaking out, you're helping people. This is one of the reasons why all of the allegations of Michael Jackson, the black community was all like, nah, we not tolerating that. We got Michael Jackson's back because we knew Michael Jackson had the back of the people. Michael Jackson never abandoned the people. He never, despite how huge of a megastar he was, he never felt like he was bigger and better than the rest of black society. So that's why black people had his back. We have too often where we have celebrities, rappers, athletes, or whoever, they donate to black people, but they invest with white people. They'll donate to a HBCU so they can get some type of tax exemption from it, but they'll invest with Uber. They'll invest with DoorDash. They'll invest with white owned companies. But when it comes to black people, it's a charity. They treat black people like we're a charity, like we're a donation case. Um, Catching hell, you go ahead.
And you know what? Another thing she does is she makes any of the white establishments in the community give up donations to the black community because you're making money off of us, so you donate too. Let me tell you how bad this sister is. When they had the government shut down, she was giving it. She said, "Any of y'all need groceries, gas cards? Come up here. I got it all laid out. Just go to her Instagram. It's called Country Cooking. Go to Instagram and you'll see how she donates back to the community. She was doing all of that. She was making other businesses unasked their money too. Yo, you going to donate too. Everybody's going to donate and give back to the community because we made your money, so now give back. And she does it. I land there, brother.
I appreciate. Text DM me her name. and then like the name of her business. I forgot that, so I can check her out. But I'm gonna be closing this space because I got to get ready for YouTube. If you guys are listening to this live, I would encourage you guys to, if you haven't subscribed, go to my YouTube channel and please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm gonna be going live in 40 minutes now, so I got to get my camera and everything set up, do audio tests, make sure that's set up. Because there's been a couple issues, but got to make sure everything is set up for that. I feel like this has been a very healthy space, a very good space. We definitely need to have more conversations about self-improvement and things that we can do internally, because we're fighting for reparations. We're fighting against the system of white supremacy. We're fighting that stuff, but there are some things that we can do ourselves. It's not all, you know, it's not all about fighting the opponent. It's also about looking at yourself internally, and then you saying, well, what can we do in the meantime as we're fighting? Let's multitask. What can we do to better ourselves? What can we do to become a stronger, closely knit community? You know, to build together, to love for each other, to love on each other, and all of that. What can we do? So these are conversations that need to be had, and I appreciate everybody who's spoken in this space. I appreciate everybody who's listening in the space, and the people who will be listening on the playback. I do also take these spaces and I do put them on my YouTube channel as well too. So I would say about tomorrow it should be up there. So be looking forward to that. But I'm gonna get off here. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the talk with the family greatly. I hope you guys have a safe weekend. Like I said, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't done so. You guys stay safe out there. Watch your back. Remember, we're talking about self-improvement every day, all day. There's a consistent thing that you have to do. So with that being said, thank you all and have a good night. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the YouTube chat room in like an hour or so. But be one to the family.